This broadcast of In Focus is being made possible through the support of Reed Health. Reed Health, right beside you. And by First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together.
At Reed Health, we are prepared to safely deliver all essential medical care. Delaying treatment for a serious condition, like a heart attack, stroke, or appendicitis, may lead to a different outcome.
Don't ignore symptoms: chest pain, rapid breathing, stroke symptoms, severe abdominal pain, the worst headache of your life, confusion or not acting right. We are here for you 24/7.
Reed Health has taken many steps to protect you. This is to ensure your safety, so Reed can continue providing care when you need it. Reed Health, right beside you.
I mean, we couldn't do what we do without First Bank and how supportive they have been throughout the years.
I've had a very good experience working with First Bank. They have been there really with all kinds of different things that I do in my life.
We consider First Bank Richmond a good friend. They're there to help us sponsor our signature events. You always are out there to help each other out.
Besides the business part of it, we just get along really well. And it's beyond a working relationship.
Welcome to this episode of In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11, our first one in a few weeks. That is not an In Focus candidate forum. The election is, well, I'm not going to say it's over, but, you know, all the counting and shouting is still going on. So we'll see how that all comes out in the wash. But getting beyond that, want to start checking in with some folks around the community. Next week, I'm going to have a chance to speak with Luann Holiva, and we'll talk a lot of things about conservation, the environment, the work that she does. If you're not familiar with Luann, that should be a really good conversation and some great things to catch up on. I want to start this week by catching up with some folks who, man, they always seem to have a lot of stuff going on. And it's great because when you talk about parks, being able to get out and get outdoors and do a lot of things, you want your park system to be robust. You want it to be moving. And this one is. So we've got Denise Retz back with us, Superintendent of the Richmond Parks Department, and Caleb Smith, who has done, excellent work on the farmers market over the last few years, man. The growth of that particular part of the Parks Department, I think is really good. And if I was wearing a hat, I'd take it off to you, but know that you have my respect for what you've been able to do with that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having us.
Glad to do it.
Thank you, Eric.
Listen, it's always fun to talk to you all because it's always upbeat. There's always a lot going on. Let's start with some things that are coming up. And probably the first thing that is going to happen is this coming weekend. And we are taping this ahead of time, but we know that this coming weekend, the farmers market makes its move from being the outside in Elstro Plaza type of venue to being indoors. The indoor space is changed again, but for the better, I think. Talk a little bit about moving that to Starginet, how that even came about, how that thought process even began.
Absolutely, yeah. So again, thank you, Eric, so much for having us. And so the Winter Farmers Market opens this Saturday at the Starginet building in the Whitewater Gorge at 101 South 1st Street. We are making that move for a few different reasons. Our main reason is that our home for the last 2 years at the Richmond Senior Community Center has been deemed not appropriate for use during COVID-19. We felt that there wasn't enough room for social distancing while maintaining proper and equally favorable vendor spaces for all of our participants. So that was our main reason, and we did a lot of digging and trying to figure out what our best option would be, looking at other places in the community, and wanting to really do our due diligence and make sure that we were hopefully ending up somewhere not just as a replacement for a single year, but somewhere that could actually be better for us long term. And so with that in mind, we've heard a lot of input over the past couple of years that people really like seeing the winter farmers market in the downtown area. We were in the downtown area 3 years ago, and people loved having us really close to everything. So with that in mind, we started looking around at different potential spaces. We knew we needed at least 10,000 square feet for all of our vendors, along with adequate social distancing measures, and settled on, after a lot of research and cost analysis, that our best bet was going to be the Starginet building, which is a property that's owned by the Parks Department. It was rehabilitated in 2016, and we're really excited. We're in the process right now of finishing up the winterization for that building. We're working to put in some temporary windows and panels over some of the entrances, put in some temporary doors, and we're putting in a really big heat system for that big space. So it's a 12,000 square foot facility, and we're really excited. We have over 40 vendors already signed up for the winter market. We've got a lot more interest. We're pulling in vendors from farther afield, but we're still doing all of our due diligence and making sure that it's a growers only market that people can shop at to get their food for their family every week, and then also to be able to get their holiday shopping done as well.
This is going to be obviously a much more open space, and not knocking the senior center, but obviously as you kind of walk down some of those hallways when you were a third grader, it probably looked, really big, but as an adult, those were pretty tight spaces. This is going to be open, social distance. People are always worried about, for those who haven't been in that facility, you talk about it being upgraded, amenities, bathrooms, things of that nature. Is all of that there for folks?
Yeah. So it does have a really nice restroom facility that was put in a few years ago, and it's ADA accessible. We're putting in that heat system, like I mentioned, and we have some really great other options with that facility as well. It's right by the Walk of Fame and the Gorge Trail, so it's still important to be getting outside and doing that active recreation during the winter. So people can, if they want to take a walk right before or after the market, they can do that right there. And we have some space for some food trucks to park right outside. So if someone wants to grab breakfast to go, or if it's a warmer fall day, winter day, grab a seat at a picnic table outside and have some breakfast at the market. So there's a lot of amenities there. We have Wi-Fi, we have security cameras. It's really a fully featured event space.
For those who haven't been there, and you would think everybody has, but that's not a place that everybody has had to traverse in and out of. Talk about where it is and how someone gets there.
Yeah, so it's right off of Main Street on South First Street. If you're familiar with the C&O Railroad trestle that a couple of years ago had some upgrades made, it has the big LED Richmond sign. If you're coming up on that, it is just south of Main Street. By the turn is right there by the trestle. It's right across the street from the Veterans Park. And if you're crossing over the gorge on US 40, you actually go right over that facility. So if you ever are walking or biking across that area, you can just peek down over the bridge on South A Street, and you'll see it right there. It's a beautiful old facility. It's the home of the Starginet company, the piano factory, the recording studios, huge complex. We've actually put in a photographic mural of photos from the facility when it was in use throughout the years. So we have photos from the 18 and 1900s. So people can kind of explore the history at the same time, along with exploring a lot of the artists that recorded there with the Walk of Fame.
Nice. What part of the master plan is this, or was it part of the master plan? Was it just something that you said, we have to make this move, here's the place, or what's the deal?
Well, I can take that one. We explored all of our options, Eric. I mean, a lot of people were talking Coleman Center. A lot of people were talking Elder Bierman Building. A lot of people were saying, have you visited all of your options? And we have. We've looked all around the entire county to see the best place. And really, from the comprehensive plan, from the city and the actual park comprehensive plan that we're getting ready to adopt and implement, both sets of plans really, that community-driven process has really landed us in the heart of our Center City district. Many people really wanted to see the market still set and situated, just like Jack Elstro Plaza, and this will get us closer to that area.
Yeah, and we're really excited about the ability to have the market right downtown, walkable for people who are not using vehicles to get around. So we'll be able to, kind of fill a little bit of that food desert, that shopping gap in the Center City area. We provide fresh groceries, fresh produce all year round. We have farmers that are growing, spinach and lettuce and all sorts of those winter crops. And of course, we have all of our meat and eggs and dairy products and all of those things as well.
You've watched this market grow, and I've watched this market grow. Has it affected how some of the farmers in the area, particularly some of the smaller ones, grow? Do they grow more just to be a part of this now?
Absolutely, yes. We've seen a huge growth in farmer participation in the past couple of years, really diversifying, especially during this pandemic. A lot of normal supply chains have been disrupted, so people are looking to pivot their businesses, figure out how to keep things going. So we've seen some new farmers come on board. We've seen new value-added producers. And we're one of 3 winter farmers markets that operate every Saturday. And because we operate every Saturday during the summer, we're one of 3 markets in the state of Indiana that operates every Saturday year round. So we actually, during the winter, see an influx of some vendors from the surrounding areas that have their own markets in the summer, but look for other opportunities in the winter. So with that, we, actually are seeing some new vendors that people won't have seen at the farmers market before at the winter market. So we get vendors who come in from Muncie, from the Oxford area, and even as far away as Newcastle, things like that. So really a lot of opportunities. And we're happy to be able to kind of play a small role in supporting these small businesses.
Talk real quickly about the protocols for safety that people have to deal with and know as they're using this facility.
Yeah. As far as COVID-19, our main focus is on social distancing and mask wearing. That's the 2 most important things. So we require everyone in the facility to be wearing a mask. If someone grabs something to eat or drink, we're asking that we're going to have some warming areas outdoors where people can enjoy those, or if we do have room for seating, we may not have much room for seating indoors just due to the amount of vendors. But if we do in small family groups, people could remove those just for eating or drinking. But otherwise, social distancing, mask wearing, all of our vendors are required to either wash their hands, hand sanitize, or switch gloves in between each customer. Customers are asked not to touch anything before they purchase it. So we really try to make sure that it's a low touch environment. It's a safer shopping experience in the grocery store in a lot of ways. So we really try to work hard at that, especially with programs like our SNAP Double Dollars program, which with the increase in people utilizing SNAP or food stamps this year, we've seen a huge growth in that program. We last summer did about $12,000, $13,000 in SNAP sales over the whole 6 months of our summer season. This year we did about $30,000. So that SNAP combined with the pandemic EBT program from the state, we were able to double both of those with Read Health's help. So we're really grateful to be able to do that. It's a great program for our community. It's also a great program for our farmers who benefit from it a lot. So, we want to make sure that we provide a really safe and useful shopping opportunity for everyone in our community.
You're watching In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. We're spending some time with Denise, Retz, and Caleb Smith from the Richmond Parks and Recreation Department. Denise, November, one of the things we think about always, Veterans Day, Veterans Parade. We've seen over the last few weeks the numbers from COVID-19 go up. We had you on Ask the Doctors a couple of weeks ago. We were talking that there might be a Veterans Day parade. We were hopeful that that would take place. looking like that may not be able to come off? Can you talk about what the discussions surrounding that have been?
Yeah, we're not out of the woods just yet, Eric. I mean, we're definitely working with our local Wayne County Health Department. They are working on some heightened restrictions, and we want to be responsible as well and protect our veterans at this time. So we have polled our Veterans Day Parade Committee and talking to them and getting their feedback, as that is important, but ultimately it may not be our choice. And we just need to be responsible and be the leaders here in this community to figure out the best course of action. Okay.
Raising funds, always important, whether it's for enclosing Star Jeanette, whether it is for new equipment at one of the parks. You all have really, I don't want to say mastered it, but you all seem to have gotten much better with it over the last few years. Talk about what initiatives you all have coming up right now to be able to do that, what some of those funds are going for. And I know the challenge batch is taking place. Talk about what people can give to.
Yeah. Well, I think, what we definitely want to make sure the community understands is that, every dollar counts. And that's huge for the Parks Department. We have this great big umbrella that we hold. Underneath that umbrella that we protect and that we maintain our 23 park properties and spaces, tons of enclosed facilities and open air shelters. We also maintain the pool as well as the Mcbride Stadium and other softball fields. We help a lot with the pickleball courts and that area over there. And, the market is also under our umbrella along with the senior center and the golf courses. So, I mean, there's a ton of stuff that people can actually restrict their donations towards. And we have these donation accounts where you can restrict that donation. So if you really love Springwood Park and you want to restrict your donation for anything that we need there, that can be done. If you just really are excited about this winterization project for Star Jeanette, that can be restricted as well. If you love the outdoor movie series, guess what? We can restrict that donation as well. So, and we can also restrict your donation for repairs because that is something that we cannot include in our annual budget at this time. I mean, we have building material funds, but these are operations. These are daily things that we deal with on a regular basis. And I think the community is really starting to grasp. This is why it's gotten a little better, Eric, because the community is really starting to grasp the fact that while we do rely heavily on tax dollars, sometimes that's not enough to take care of the park system that they want and that they cherish and they expect. And so I think that mentality is changing a little bit due to the education components that we've been trying to facilitate, as well as our partners. We work a lot with our partners to be able to help them raise money as well to fulfill their missions, which in turn, it actually fulfills ours because we're helping more people and we're serving more people. So we let them come in and sell their Christmas trees or do their annual race or, anything along those lines, dog walk, all of those kinds of things. And that's important. That's important for us to be that leader to showcase for our nonprofits to be successful. And so I think people are starting to understand that in a way that is not our tax dollars should do everything we want to do in our park system. They know we're doing everything we can. They know we're being fiscally responsible with our budget and that we're doing more when we have more. And so they want to give because they want us to do more. They want us to provide more. And in talking about some of the equipment at the various areas, I mean, this is going to be the third playground we've been able to do in 3 years because of our generous community. And one of the major goals that we have had for since 2016 is to make all these playgrounds compliant so that our families can be safe and our children can be safe every time they step foot on any of these playgrounds. So we do an annual audit on all of our playgrounds. And when you do these annual audits and you determine that particular playgrounds are never going to be okay to play on, you need to get rid of them. And that's what we did. So we started with Clear Creek and we put in the Playground with a Purpose there. And that's been very successful, has a fence around that. If you haven't been there, please go check that out. Then we went to Middle Fork Reservoir and we were able to redo that playground and make it more of a naturescape. And now Star Park, we're able to put in a new playground there that should be finalized by the end of the year. So we're working on that currently. So all of these three determinations and the people that have given and the generosity that we see in this community is far more humbling each and every day. It's wonderful.
Talk about your partners and what you're able to do. I know there's a not-for-profit that kind of decided an apple orchard would be a great use. Talk about that. I know obviously with a lot of things, the pandemic has kind of slowed that down a little bit, but it hasn't stopped it.
No. And, in talking about the pandemic, one thing I want to make sure that people realize is your parks are always open. I mean, we may close at dusk, and we may close at 11 p.m. Each and every day, but our parks will remain open for you. And that is one thing that I have been very proud of, is to look out the window even of my office and see people picnicking again, spending time with their families, walking their dog, and going into all of our parks in our areas. It's just been wonderful to see people and them experiencing nature again and taking the time to do that. And when we talked a little bit about the challenge match, our campaign this year is titled What Matters Most, because I think people are starting to remember what matters most right now in this day and age. And so we want to make sure they understand that right up there with what matters most is recreation. And we're happy to provide that to our community. In doing so, we want to just be that leader for our community. And we can't do everything. We know that. We'd like to sometimes, right? We'd like to have that control over every single park. However, but we have to rely on partners for additional resources. And this wonderful organization called Woodblock Press has come to us about a community orchard and has partnered with a lot of people as well to make this happen. The fence was actually installed a couple weeks ago, and we're really excited about that. The trees are ordered and I believe are waiting for planting, the fruit trees and the berry bushes. So they're on their way at Mary Scott Park, and that's exciting. And so, we rely heavily on some of our partners, including our pickleball partners as well. And they're doing a wonderful job at the pickleball courts, helping keeping it clean and providing intergenerational, sports that we're seeing every age playing pickleball now. It's the fastest growing sport, and we're excited that it's at Clear Creek. And so we're just kind of talking to them even about some expansion. So great things happening, and we can do more when people like this and partners like this come together.
You're watching In Focus on WGTV Channel 11. We're speaking with Denise Retz and Caleb Smith from the Richmond Parks and Recreation Department. We were talking trees going into Mary Scott Park. Sometimes trees come down. And obviously, this is a community, like many others, that has had an issue with the ash borer, the dead trees all over the place. Something that no one wants to see. Obviously, a hazard has to be cleaned up. No one wants to see trees come down, particularly some of the old trees that exist in those parks. But I think you all have done, to this point, a good job at doing some of that cleanup. Talk a little bit about how that program has continued and where it continues to go.
Yeah, so we came up with a creative strategy. I mean, this is a nationwide epidemic. The emerald ash borer is something no one really likes to talk about, because you can get very frustrated on how it's attacked our trees. And I always say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the next best time is to plant one now, right? So we've got to get some of these dead trees down and make sure that the areas are safe. That's the ultimate goal, right? Is to make sure that our parks are safe and that we're not going to drop limbs on cars, and you're going to feel safe driving or walking in our areas. So the street department's been great at helping us each year to determine areas and determine high priority trees to remove. This year at Glen Miller alone, we've been able to take down 98 trees at our Wood Week. And then we invite the community to come in, fill out waivers, participate in a specialized weekend. And this year it was October 17th and 18th. We had a lot of wood removed, but we still have a lot of wood here. And we don't ask for anything in return. We just want them to come get their wood. Come get it, sell it, burn it, whatever you need to do, just take it out. And so I think that is another partner that we're really excited about having. People rely on this wood to burn, to heat their homes, or to have bonfires with families, or perhaps sell for additional money. And we don't care where it goes. We just care that it goes away, and that and that we can make sure that these trees are safe and down. And the 98 trees, I mean, that's huge. Street Department's done a wonderful job. And if anybody wants to come cut, we'll have trees available. They're all down. Those are what you can cut. And you'll have to fill out a waiver at the Parks Department. You can come to our front window and fill out that waiver at any point in time. And that will allow you to cut. We ask you cut with a buddy. We don't want you cutting by yourself. And just so you can be protected. And we also ask that you cut 8 to 3. And that's because we have people at the park on site from Monday through Friday, 8 to 3. So those are our limitations, but you can get as much wood as you can handle. You can come as many times as you want, and it'll help us out. We've been cleaning up some of the down trees right now and getting them closer to areas which can be more accessible. But there's still a lot left. There's a lot of wood left, and we need the community's help to get that out of here. Mary Scott, we've been able to take down 15 more trees. That adds to the 18 that we took down 2 years ago. And that park is completed. So no more dead ash there, as well as Star Park has been completed as well. We've taken down a total since spring of 2017, about 311 trees purposefully taken down. And, those were all dead trees. A lot of people get concerned when we start dropping, but they're dead. And, they're going to come down one way or another. So we just need to make sure that people understand we're doing the best we can. I know people are also concerned about tree health and forest health, and so are we. We have a arborist in training, Izzy Wilhelm, that's doing a wonderful job helping us through this. We also applied for some grants through the IDNR to try to help with some of the removal and some of the reforestation. So those are great things that we're doing. This is not something that goes unnoticed in our parks forum. I see it every day at every single park as a constant reminder. And so Izzy's been working with Caleb, and I think Caleb might want to talk a little bit about our tree week, because that can be accessible on our Facebook page, and kind of talk through a little bit about what our initiatives have been, really to kind of educate the community on our trees. And I'll take it away, Caleb. Make sure that they know what's been going on since you've been helping with that.
Yeah, so switching my hat to more of my community engagement side with the Parks Department. One of our initiatives with our arborist has been trying to educate the community more about tree health and how they can get involved. So there is a series of videos up on the city website, our Parks Department Facebook page, and our Parks Department YouTube page that has a 5-part video series about trees in our area, how to properly plant trees, how to do long-term maintenance. There's even a special video about the oldest recorded tree in Wayne County, just kind of neat. And we talked a little bit about the emerald ash borer, and also about another invasive bug that's coming our way called the Asian Longhorn beetle, which has not been found in Indiana yet, but it's been found as close as Cincinnati. And it targets 13 species of trees, including maples and catalpas, which are two very prominent and widely seen trees in our park system. And so we know that that's a hurdle that we're going to have to face. And when Denise talks about that, plant a tree 20 years ago, that's what we're kind of starting to look towards, is that in the next few years, we're probably going to be dealing with the effects of the Asian Longhorn beetle, and we need to be ready for that and not be reactive, but be proactive. So the community can get involved with that by planting trees and learning more about invasive plants and bugs and what you can do about them. So we're really hopeful that we can kind of get a lot of people fired up and passionate about this.
What is the plan for being able to replace some of the trees that have come down? You mentioned 300 plus have come down. Obviously, they were dead, but you want to try to build that up. And that is not a cheap proposition by any stretch of the imagination. It takes money to replant, and it takes time for them to grow. Are you looking to do all of the clearing and then really move into a replanting type of effort?
No, actually, we have some mitigation that we've been working on currently. We've been planting trees this whole time. And we're starting to document all the trees and their locations just so we can make sure that we're doing that at least 2-to-1 ratio. You take down one tree, you plant two. That's the state of what we hope to accomplish. And so we're working on that and just making sure that we have a full inventory of where those new trees have been planted. Also, in one of the trails that will be coming soon that the community will be hearing about, which will be the one on the East Fork River, that area near Freeman Park area. That's a trail we're working on. And so another mitigation has to happen due to that trail coming through. So there'll be some additional trees being planted even at Springwood through that mitigation, which will be great. The orchard trees obviously will also help with that 2-to-1 ratio. And then, we are also coming up with a memorial tree program, and that memorial tree program will be housed at our floral division at our greenhouse. We already have some trees that we've started several years ago. We have a small nursery at the greenhouse located at Waterfall Road, but a lot of people like to buy trees in memory of their loved one or because of a certain reason. And so we're going to have that option available soon. We're just trying to work out all those kinks so the community can actually help reforest our parks as well. So we're betting on that as well. Floral Division actually has classes that they are offering. I know, Eric, you've been able to attend a couple. We had our first class on October 13th. We have our next class on November 10th. These are located at Springwood Park, and you can get the information on our website and our Facebook page. The next one on November 10th is Native Trees, Shrubs, and Flowers. And then
it's right into this conversation.
And then we also have December 8th, Christmas Centerpiece class. And then on
I did that one last year. That's a lot of fun.
And then on January 12th, we have plant propagation. And February 9th, butterfly, bee, and bird gardening. And then March 9th, landscaping design part 2. So we had some classes last year. You don't have to have had to have attended the part 1, but we do have a second section that's coming along to kind of get people more integrated and to deeper dive into that landscaping world that we live in. And the greenhouse girls are doing amazing. The floral division is doing amazing. We actually just received a prestigious award from the governor's office. It's the governor's award for environmental excellence. And that is because of everything that we've been able to do at the greenhouse complex and in the parks department as a whole. It's a gorgeous award, and we're very honored to have been chosen. Of course, it was an application process, and we wanted to highlight all of our work there and the way that we've been trying to make it more sustainable, as well as our work with our in-house resources, including our street and sanitation and landfill. They're the reasons why we've been able to win this award, because a lot of what we would have had to hire out, we were able to do with in-house resources because of our partners and friends at our local department. So together we're stronger as a team, and the city team it's where it's at.
I appreciate you spending some time with us as we go through this week's In Focus on WGTV Channel 11, talking with Caleb Smith, Denise Retz from the Richmond Parks and Recreation Department. Tip of the hat to you all again for what's been going on. I know that there was some pushback. There was some serious concern about that greenhouse facility rolling into the Parks Department and what would come of it. I mentioned I did a couple of classes that you all had. I went to your sale. I bought a couple of plants from there that actually did very well in my yard. Thank you very much. Talk a little bit about that collaboration that you talked about, and you all have done this for a few years, working with the street department. No secret, city budget tight. Talk about what this year's budget, the 2021 budget, is going to do to your department. What will be missed? What won't you be able to do? What will you have to cut back on? What will you have to rethink?
Well, as anyone knows me, I don't like to cut back on a whole lot. So I fought for every penny that I could get. Honestly, I knew that this was going to be a tight year. So the business manager and myself and the administration really streamlined the park budget in a way that we can still operate, but knowing that there's not going to be any extras. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. Now, most of our projects, as you know, Eric, are things that we raise money for. So we're hoping to have a good challenge match year that will carry us into 2021 with what we can do. Some of our contingencies that are not located in our budget, or things that we can count for in our annual budget. But any projects, any additions, any programs, any events, all of that has to be raised already. So it was never in our budget to begin with. So we're used to looking outside of that annual budget for what we need, and just relying on operations alone. We did have to do some reductions in our 2020 budget, and those reductions came from not opening the pool and not having our JUCO camp. That is not a year I want to repeat. I need that pool open. I want that pool open, not because we make a whole ton of money there, because that's not the case, but it is a valuable asset for our community, and something that I want to have open, especially with that new slide. I mean, 2021 is going to be amazing at the pool. We have a brand new slide. It's a figure 8. And we have a lot of improvements with playgrounds and things like that. So we want JUCO to happen. We want the pool to be open, and we'll be doing that as safely as possible. But we were able to do some reductions in this year's budget because we didn't have those things open and going, but not something that we want to repeat. And we're very fiscally responsible here at the Parks Department. If we don't need it, we don't buy it. And it's very important that if something needs to be repaired, we figure out the best way to pay for that. Just like Caleb's project for the winter market. I mean, we did our due diligence on where and what we needed to do. I mean, that's the first and foremost. That's why we're kind of, in that kind of scrambling part right now, where we're trying to figure out, okay, we want to get all of this finalized and get everything ready for the first market on the 7th, which is 2 days from when this airs. And we know that not everything's going to be ready. It's just not going to be with our purchasing procedures and our contract procedures that we have to go through. We know that we'll be doing it little by little. And we ask the community for their patience because obviously this is something that is going to be a long-term success for us here, winterizing this building, not only for the Parks Department as a whole, for some revenue generation, but also for the winter market. And so we're working to make sure that's the best possible area in which we did, and now we're looking to raise the money. So obviously that wasn't anything that we had in our budget for 2020 or 2021. So those are things that have to be raised, and so which is really cool because we're doing a patronicity campaign again. And this is the 6th patronicity campaign that we've done with our friends at the Indiana Housing and Community Development Authority. And this actual campaign will be going on till around the 20th of November. And people can give towards this campaign and get matched 100%. And that's really exciting. And if people donate between 11/2 and 11/10, during the challenge match time, they can actually leverage 2 different ways. So if somebody wants to donate to the winter market, by all means, contact Caleb, Facebook, call the park office at 983 Park, and we'll make sure that your donation gets leveraged the best way possible and put it where you need it. And just like you said, this is going to be a tough year. And we're very sensitive to that, not only to the fact of what we can do and provide to the community, but what the community can provide to us. So we're really understanding when it comes to, you just may not have the money to donate this year, and don't feel obligated. We understand. We have a lot of partners that are interested in coming on board with us to make this happen. And we are, of course, understanding that this might not be a time that you'll be able to donate this year, and that's okay. We'll do everything we can with the money that we receive for you as your park system, and we're here to serve them and to the best of our ability. So we'll do everything we can, even though the budget is tight, Eric.
You all have talked about listening to the community, and you did that, and you've done that in a couple of different ways. Your master planning process I think has probably been approved, will begin to be implemented. Mm-hmm. What are some of the first things that people will see that has come out of that process? And for those who maybe didn't take advantage of being a part of it, but still want to know what's happening, mm-hmm. Can they see that plan? Can they go through that plan? And how can they do that?
Absolutely. I do want to make sure that I thank the entire community for responding to our community-driven process. We had almost 1,800 people in the first survey. That's huge. And, people, it just showed, it was a long survey. And those of you who filled it out entirely, thank you, because it was lengthy. And you'll know exactly what
it was.
But all of that information was important, but that just goes to show you how much this community loves their park system, and they want it to be better. They want to do more. They want it to flourish, and it is important to them. And now more than ever, right? And so we've got, national shortages on bikes, and we've got national shortage on equipment, and recreational. So everyone is working to get outside and get active and social distance because they feel safe about it. And like I said, our parks are always open for you. So people understand. We will see some things on the master plan come sooner than later. One of those main things I think people will really notice and will really be pushing out there is our point of sale system will start to be online. And you can actually reserve a shelter from the comfort of your own home, or you can walk up to a shelter and see and punch in a QR code potentially that'll show you if it's reserved. If not, you can reserve it right then. And so these are things that we're working on to modernize our park system. I believe that the community-driven process has really focused in on kind of the business side of parks and not relying a whole lot on tax allocation and what we can do to anchor ourselves. A lot of our peers regionally are, they have sports complexes and they have wellness centers and things that anchor them pretty good. And we actually have a lot to offer here, but not necessarily an anchor. Our anchor is property tax, and we need to look at beyond that. And we need to see what we can do to start raising some additional funds so we can do more for our community. And in the community-driven process, it really has indicated that the flagship parks are the most important right now. And we need to modernize those, give them some love, make sure that they're the best that they can be, and then move on to some of those mini and neighborhood parks as well. So we'll be talking probably a little bit more about this, Eric, and some of that community-driven process. You'll see that the community would like us to concentrate on those flagship parks and some of those parks that may not make sense to own. They'd like to see us either sell or gift those as well, so we can start concentrating on our main flagship parks. So that's a conversation I think we'll continue to have to keep the community posted and up to date on all of that. I'd like for Caleb to talk a little bit about the registration process, because I think that's a little bit about what he's been working on collectively with some of the team here at the Parks Department, and something that you'll really see through the master plan along with some of the other projects. And given that the community will understand that a master plan doesn't initiate these projects and these capital improvements. Funds do. And so I just want to make sure people realize that the capital improvements that people have identified we'll have to find ways to make those happen. And I think people know me well enough now that if there's a will, there's a way, and we'll make them happen.
Yeah. So yeah, we're really excited about one of those really quick and easy things that we're going to be able to do as a result of our master plan. You know, we identify all of the projects and things, and then we try and see what's high cost, what's low cost, what's that low hanging fruit that we can achieve quickly. And one of those is taking our point of sale system online. And so, you know, you hear point of sale and you think, oh, that's just, you know, buying snacks, and it's a lot more than that. We are really looking to make it into a really fully featured kind of center for activity and recreation information. It's going to have its own custom website where people can go in. They'll be able to register, create an account with us, and then sign up for classes, sign up your kids for swim lessons, you know, look at what drop-in activities are going to be happening at the senior center, and then reserve facilities, check out equipment. You know, we may not have lots of dollars, but we do have resources. And so, you know, helping align those and say, you know, okay, you need some tables and chairs for your events, and you can just go on and reserve that through our point of sale system. So really exciting. You know, it doesn't seem like it's, you know, earth shattering, but it's going to make a big difference for our community, and just being able to have a centralized place to learn about everything that we have going on.
We talk about our park system, and we talk about it. I've been here since '88. You all are obviously working and living in the park system, but we've still had a lot of people who have moved in just over the last couple of years and may not look at the park system the way you all do. So Denise, when you talk about those main parks that people want you all to focus on, talk about what those facilities are and where those facilities are.
Mm-hmm. So Glen Miller is 184 acres. That's one of our main flagship parks. And that's located at 2200 National Road East End. We go to the West End flagship park, would be Clear Creek. That complex holds softball, playground, pickleball, Mcbride, the pool. And so the Clear Creek Park, 1201 West Main. And then some of the other flagship parks like Middle Fork Reservoir, where we've been able to do the new paddle boats and the rowboats that you can take part of now on the weekends, and next year throughout the week. So we will have some kayaks next year as well. So really concentrating on some of that, you know, getting in touch with your water options and keeping the docks safe, and encouraging additional dock rentals, things like that. A new playground there, and then some of the other flagship parks that people really think about in the flagship areas, Jack Elster Plaza and Veterans Park and Star Jeanette. I mean, those are all flagship opportunities for our community that get visited, you know, most frequently. And people want to see them the best that they can be, more modernized, more efficient, more, you know, maintenance friendly, things like that. A few things just off the top of my head that come to mind when we talk a little bit about the master plan. Dredging the Glen Miller Pond, making sure that the pond is the best it can be. It's a flagship park, but also the pond is almost a flagship pond. People walk around it all day long. They eat their lunches beside it. It's kind of that in-town serene feeling that people get, again, in touch with our water. And, you know, there is a lot to be said with water and a peaceful mind. And so if you haven't been to Middle Fork, we have a beautiful deck out there where you can eat your lunch and spend the day with your family, picnic. I was just out there today, and there's tons of people enjoying, you know, our water, and that's great. Go out, fish, get on a paddle boat, just hang out by the water, take a hike, things like that. So, you know, and with Veterans Park, I think one thing we didn't mention that the community can get really excited about is our connector trail that's going to be coming through from Star Jeanette through Veterans Park up to the Cardinal Greenway to connect us. And that is huge for that. We've been wanting that connection for years. And it's going to be a gorgeous connection. It's going to have a nice little overlook over Veterans Park. It's going to have a swing and a place to have lunch. And we want people to enjoy our parks. And if you don't know about our park system, we're happy to tell you. I mean, just listen to me. But, you can call 983 Park. And if you're new, if you're an implant here and you want to know more, you can reach out to our Facebook page. We post things all the time about what's going on. But we also have our recreation guide that we've been able to have digitally this year, just because things were ever changing. But next year, we hope to get that printed. And so our recreation guide will be full of our facilities and our events and our partners and everything like that. So you can get in touch with your park system. But by all means, give us a call. We'll give you some volunteer opportunities. We'll give you a map. We'll put you to work, whatever.
I'm sure you will. A question, just really kind of following up. You all, everything you all have talked about has talked about modernizing the parks, making them better. But then you're still talking about printing a guide. Is there a disconnect there? Just as a question.
No, I think that's a good question, and one I'd love to talk through. The issue we still have is that we have it both digitally and printed. We only digitalized it this year only because of the ever-changing world and uncertain times that we have lived in for the last year. But I think it's important to be able to physically hand someone a copy of what we've got going on. It's important that maybe people can kind of use it as almost a wish book, so they can highlight and circle the things that they want to do, or the kids can actually flip through and say, "Oh, do you see this, Mom?" And it's a lost art, and we don't want to lose it here at the Parks Department. We lost it before. And we didn't see a whole lot of excitement when it came out digitally like we do when it comes out printed. People get excited. The partners get excited. They start passing it out. It's what people want to grab when they come to our events. It's the go-to publication for recreation and opportunity right here in Wayne County in Richmond, Indiana. And that's what we want it to be. And so it doesn't hurt to have a printed and a digital copy, Eric.
Okay. We're down to our last couple of minutes. One of the places that you didn't mention that people will probably throw things at me if I don't ask you about is Mcbride Stadium. That is a place that obviously you all have tried to do some work on. It's an older facility, still needs some help. What is the plan for that?
Well, I would like to say that we haven't just tried. We have done major work there. This past year, we've been able to paint the entire nostalgic green fence. We, even when no one was playing in there, it gave us a little breath of fresh air on that field, giving it a little bit of a kind of holding pattern. So our field has never been better. It was really nice for it to take a little bit of a break. We missed RHS and we missed Seton and we missed our Jazz. But I know they'll be back stronger than ever next year. Like I said, we were able to paint the green fence, which was huge for us. There was a lot of spaces that needed painted and a lot of rust. So we knocked all that off and painted. We also capped all the bleachers. We repaired the roof and the grandstand. Last year we moved the score box out. And so the press box was moved out, and it left a little bit of a gap on top of the grandstand. So we were able to fix that. We fixed the landscaping around the area. And again, the concentration is the field. If you don't have a good field, you don't have a good stadium. But we try to do it all. And that sometimes is where we fall short. We want everything to look good, but it's come a long way since 2016, and we still have a ways to go. But I like to kind of say that it's kind of like an old car. You're always going to have to put money into it, and it's always going to, you're always going to be able to see its value, and it'll feel good when you sit in it. So that's what we like to say about Mcbride. It's our old car that we take very seriously, and we want to keep it looking the best it can. And we work really hard there.
You're the first in focus out of our candidate forum, so I'm going to wrap this up the way I would a candidate forum. We've got about 1 minute left. I'm going to give you that minute. There may be something I didn't ask you, something you want the community to know, need the community to know. It's yours. Got a minute. Go.
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit more about Challenge Match because that's important. When you talk about all these things that we've talked today, the Challenge Match is important. It's 11-2 to 11-10. And if you don't know about the Challenge Match, it's through the Wayne County Foundation. We're blessed to be a part of that. We have to raise $20,000 to receive $10,000. We match up to $1,000 per donor until that $20,000 is collected. So anything that you can do and help with, we would love to. And if you want to leverage those funds, Caleb, I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about the winter market and how they can leverage those funds twice, not only from the Challenge Match, but also through Patronicity campaign.
Yeah, so we still have our Patronicity campaign up and running for another 2.5, 3 weeks. We are really hoping that the community can continue to support it. We have some great sponsors that have already come on board, but we definitely still have a ways to go. And we're so confident that the community loves our market and will support us that we're going ahead with getting ready for the market. Obviously, we're opening in a couple days when this airs, but we're going to need the community support to make sure that it all gets finalized appropriately. So you can go online. There's links on our website, Facebook page, etc. Or you can call the Parks office, come into the Parks office in Glen Miller, or drop off donations at the farmers market on a Saturday morning if you can't make it to the office during the week. Or you can send things in by mail to 50 North 5th Street. And, we have a myriad of opportunities and ways to get you involved in what we have going on. And any donation is matched 100% through Patronicity and the IHCDA. So really a great opportunity to double your money or even triple it if you work with us in the Challenge Match as well during that time period.
Just like a politician, we give you a minute and you take two. Really appreciate it. Thank you all, seriously, for everything that you all do for the community. Appreciate the time that you give us. Denise Retz, Caleb Smith, Richmond Parks and Recreation Department. Appreciate you being on this week's In Focus.
Of course, thanks for having us.
Thanks for watching this week's In Focus on Whitewater Community Television's WGTV Channel 11. As I bail out of here quickly, want to remind you we've got live basketball action at First Bank Richmond Classic. Saturday's game begins at noon on WETV Channel 20. The Chocolate Sunday from the Alzheimer's Association is taking place this Sunday. There's information there on the screen if you want to get registered. And Al-Anon meets every Monday from 7:30 till 8:30. New members are always welcome. Thanks for watching. As always, I wish you well. Have a great weekend.
This broadcast of In Focus is being made possible through the support of Reed Health. Reed Health, right beside you. And by First Bank Richmond, with 8 locations serving Wayne County. First Bank Richmond and you, doing great things together.